Hi, and welcome to New England Wildlife Legacy. I'm Jenny Sawerda. We're here today with Robert Adamski talking about internships at the New England Wildlife Center. So to kick us off, Robert, do you want to just tell us a little bit about the internship program?
Sure. So New England Wildlife Center is a fully functional wildlife rehabilitation center found on the South Shore of Massachusetts. We deal with anywhere from 900 to over 2,000 cases per year. We deal with any native and invasive wildlife species found in Massachusetts. So we'll deal with amphibians, we'll deal with reptiles, avian and bird species, as well as mammals. And one of the key components of that wildlife care is our internship program. We could not do what we do as a wildlife rehabilitation center and as a healthcare facility without our interns. We've had interns for over 20 to 25 years. We were one of the first wildlife rehab centers to actually use undergraduate college students as interns. We have interns, we've had over 1,000 interns over the life of the program. And they've come from over at least 100 different colleges and universities worldwide. So yeah, we literally depend on our college interns.
Excellent, and we have two interns with us today, Casey and Tyler.
Hello.
Welcome. Do you guys want to start by telling us a little bit about how your experience has been as interns?
It has been amazing. I feel like my skill level as a veterinary technician has expanded immensely. The knowledge that I'm gaining is completely invaluable. It's the best. I could not learn it anywhere else. It's things that they're not teaching me in school. We don't go over the exotics and the wildlife, in the program. So to get that opportunity through the New England Wildlife Center has just been so great.
And to back that up, one of the core strengths of our internship program is that it's very hands-on. So the students aren't just standing in a corner watching people do procedures and do skills. They're actually in there doing it. They're learning how to feed animals. They're learning how to do drug calculations, administer medications, doing bandaging and splinting, helping our vet techs with their diagnostic procedures like x-rays, monitoring anesthesia during surgery. So they're actually in there actually performing like real world skills.
That's great. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, as he was saying, it's very hands-on. My first day, I was force feeding a swan.
Yeah.
But I've learned so much, and I've met so many cool people from all over, and it's been a very, very interesting experience.
Excellent. So, Robert, going back to you, do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe the requirements behind the internship program?
Sure. Our internship program, it's designed as a full-time program, 5 days a week for at least a month, 30 days minimum. We will extend our internships out to about 4 to 6 months as average, but we will extend it on a case-by-case basis. We do, on a limited basis, accept interns less than full-time. The minimum is 3 days per week, and that's just because for scheduling, staffing concerns, as well as the fact that because it is so hands-on, we need that time to be able to, for you to get the practice on actually doing the skills that we're teaching you. So those are the time requirements. Most of our interns are undergraduate college students, and a lot of them use it either A, for college credit, as well as to apply as one of the prerequisites to apply for graduate school programs, like whether it's vet school or a master's program, stuff like that. The actual requirements for our interns, besides the time commitment in that, and to be either a full-time undergraduate college student, and then on a limited basis, we do take junior or senior high school students as well. Everybody's required to have a series of the pre-exposure rabies vaccinations, because we do deal with rabies vector species. So to make sure everybody's safe,
Yep.
okay, because rabies is bad.
Yes.
Rabies tends to, there's no like, oh, I got rabies and I did okay.
Yeah.
It's 99.9999% fatal. So therefore, we make sure everybody's safe and everybody needs to be rabies vaccinated. They need to be examined by their physician just to say, hey, look, you can do basic work and stuff like that, and they need a tetanus vaccine. So the requirements are pretty basic, and then we have a application process for the interns, because it is pretty competitive, especially during the summer. For instance, last year we had over 110 applicants for about 50 to 55 positions.
Wow. That's great. It's good that you have a lot of people interested in the program.
Yes, so therefore we can take the best of the best.
Yes, which is good. So Casey, I know you are in college right now. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's been managing your schoolwork with this internship?
It's been interesting. I go to school 3 days, I intern 3 days, and I also work 3 days. So I've been able to get it done. I feel that, when we do have downtime, I can like grab a book and study really quick. Like, it's not so bad. It's manageable. The workload isn't too bad.
And why do you think that you wanted, you're obviously very busy, so why did you want to do this? What do you think it's adding to your education?
I didn't think I was going to be able to get this experience anywhere else. I knew I wanted it in wildlife or zoo medicine, and I had to do an internship for school, and it just seemed like the right fit. I knew the requirements were fine. I didn't mind doing the 3 days. I don't mind driving over an hour to get here. It's totally worth it.
Excellent. So Tyler, what have been some of the most rewarding experiences you've had so far?
I couldn't tell you like how many. There's been like a lot. Just last week, I went to Florida at the North American Veterinarian Conference. That was a huge experience. I learned so much things there. I've learned different kinds of birds. I didn't realize how many kinds of birds are around here. Just stuff that I didn't expect to learn when I came into the internship. It's been amazing.
To back up what he was saying about the birds, we see over 100 different species of animals on a pretty routine basis. We see shorebirds, we see doves and different species of doves and pigeons. We see different types of raptors, like the hawks and the owls and stuff like that. We see the passerines, which are like the songbirds. We see game birds, like wild turkeys, and we get northern bobwhites, and we'll even get endangered species or species that are a listed species, either at the state or the federal level. So the variety and the types of animals that our interns get experience, both handling, restraint, common medical problems they see, as well as like their natural history, is first class and probably absolutely phenomenal. A good example would be they get to see there's a species of game bird called the American woodcock. And a lot of people never even know they exist. Okay, they're actually relatively common here in New England, and yet nobody sees them. And they're a fascinating bird. They actually eat earthworms. And one of the big problems is, and this is from a conservation medicine standpoint is real important, is that somebody built the city of Boston on their migratory flight path. Oh. So unfortunately, we see all these birds. They literally fly right through downtown Boston and smash into windows and buildings and stuff. So they end up with head trauma and all these other types of blunt force trauma, and then we end up having to deal with the consequences of that. So they get to learn the natural history of the birds, common problems we see, and then how to treat them. So
that's great. So Robert, I'll start with you, and then we can ask you guys too. What does a typical day look like when you're an intern?
So the interns show up. The schedule varies during the spring, winter, and fall. We generally do 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.-ish. During the summer, we actually run 2 8-hour shifts, so we end up working, the center's open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and that's simply because we need that extended time period to care for a lot of the orphans that need extended feeding schedules. It's all about calories. You need to get calories into the baby birds that need to be fed like every 15 minutes. So everybody shows up. We usually have rounds first thing in the morning where we learn what's going on in the day, what the new cases we got are, the status of our current patients, whether they're getting better, getting worse, any new treatments we're doing, anything that's unusual. And then we go over the procedures for the day, like what we need to get done, whether it's x-rays or doing surgery, doing administering medications, whatever it might be. And then the interns will break up into teams, groups, and they're supervised by one of our veterinary technicians, and they start the day. And they're in there in the thick of it. They're doing feedings, they're doing diets, they're drawing up medications, doing drug calculations, helping the techs in the medication ward actually do daily treatments for all the animals. They're going to be helping out with procedures, whether it's x-rays or ultrasounds or surgery. And then in addition to that, they also get to learn basic husbandry and nutrition, like doing the basic care for the animals. They learn about environmental enrichment, which is really important for captive wildlife. They're going to learn basic anatomy and physiology. And so throughout the day, they incorporate all these things into their daily tasks, but they're doing everything. I mean, they get to do a lot of fun stuff, but you also got to do the scut work too. So I know this is a novel concept, but wild animals poop, and they poop a lot.
A lot.
So, especially if you have his mute swan, for instance.
Oh.
So, as a result of that, they end up, they're doing laundry, they're learning how to keep animals clean, they're doing basic sanitation, which is really important from a healthcare aspect. So like the vet techs need to know that, because whether you're dealing with companion animals or wildlife, that basic sanitation and basic husbandry is really important. It's just as important as the medical care they get. So all that's important. And then, something as simple as making sure the animal gets the right food. Okay, mm-hmm. I mean, if you feed a wild animal the wrong type of food, either they're not going to eat it, in which case they won't have the calories to heal wounds, fight off infections, regain weight if they're skinny, or they're going to eat it and then they're going to get sick, mm-hmm. which obviously creates other problems. So simple things like that can make a huge difference. But so interns, whether it's the spring or the winter or the fall, interns have a pretty busy, hectic day.
Good, you keep them busy.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Do you guys have anything you'd like to add to that about your typical day?
I mean, it pretty much goes that way. I like to mention about breaking down the schedule a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So like Dr. Adamski was saying, you're assigned to a specific area. But not only with wildlife, we also have appointments that are seen by the veterinarians for exotic pets. So you might be in that. You might be with the cute little babies. You might be in the med ward with like the sick, bigger guys that aren't as fragile. So you don't really know what you're gonna be in that day, and it's kind of exciting to go in and be like, oh, okay, so I get babies today. That's great.
And everybody gets a chance at everything. So everybody
That's good.
rotates through the different wards in like the hospital and that. So
Very good.
There's a daily schedule, but there's no 2 days that are the same.
No, never.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
That's good.
It does, yeah. And what Casey brought up is also important. One of the advantages of our program is that not only do the students get experience with wildlife, but we actually run a first opinion exotic pet practice out of the Wildlife Center as well. Because obviously your average bald eagle doesn't come in with an American Express card,
right.
and we don't get any government funding,
Yep.
and animals are expensive, like you got to pay for the meds, the feeding, all that stuff. So we actually do run a first opinion exotic pet practice that provides basic medical and surgical and husbandry, diet, advice, care, all that stuff for exotic pets. And all that money gets funneled back in to support the Wildlife Center and the care for the wildlife. And it ends up being a really useful tool because from an educational standpoint, because then our interns, not only do they get the wildlife experience, but at the same facility, they get an exotic pet experience. So if it's not a dog or cat and you can get it in the door, we'll see it. So we see reptiles, we see bird species, we see small furries like hamsters and chinchillas and rabbits and guinea pigs and all that kind of stuff as well.
Very neat. So what's been your favorite animal to work with, Casey?
Oh, there's so many. I think my two favorite right now, we've had two big brown bats in the last couple months. I love the bats. They really need help. I mean, unfortunately our bat populations are plummeting, and if we can just help out a couple of them, it just makes me feel that much better.
Very good.
Oh, I love them.
Anything else or just the bats?
I mean,
You could go on for days.
I could. I love all the birds of prey. Like, it's just so much fun. They're all
And of
great.
course, what's your cutest small furry animal you love?
Bats? Oh, well, I love possums.
Oh.
I haven't been in, unfortunately, since I've been in, we haven't had one that I've been able to take care of yet.
Oh, don't worry,
waiting.
just wait till the spring.
I'm waiting.
What about you, Tyler? What's been your
Just
favorite
to name
animal?
off a few, I mean, we also do veterinarian work with museum science, so American alligator. A lot of the raptors are really cool. We just got a barred owl in. Let's see. I mean, the baby squirrels are cute. There's a lot of them, but they're cute. It's just like there's a huge variety of things that
You
it's
never
hard
know
to
what's coming in the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just got this thing called the dove key a few weeks ago, and I did not know what that was.
I don't know what that is.
I
Tell
s-
me.
It's an offshore bird that it looks a lot like a penguin, but it's a few inches tall, and it's like I did not expect it when I opened the box up, because someone came in and they said it was a tern, which is a different kind of seabird, and the box was way too small for a tern to fit in. So I was like, oh. So I opened it up and I saw this penguin-looking thing, and I was like, oh. And I spent the next 45 minutes trying to figure out what it was in our books that we have, like bird guide books.
Thank God we have a pretty extensive library. So
Yeah.
you gotta figure
Yes.
out what comes in the door, because you're looking at something, you're like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Let's go find out.
Yeah, just yesterday I was using that to identify a bird.
Northern
It turned out to be
bobwhite.
a northern bobwhite, which is a small little game bird. But yeah, I use it a lot.
Yeah. It's fun, right? It's like,
Yeah.
guess who?
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of things that you guys have learned, what do you think, if there's one lesson or some big picture thing that you've learned from your internship, what has that been so far?
Well, I work with dogs and cats primarily, and actually my internship has made me a braver restrainer. So the fractious cats that I deal with at my small animal hospital, I'm not as afraid of those nasty cats because I can wrangle a swan, no problem. So I feel like that's kind of helped.
That's good. What about you, Tyler?
I mean, I figured out like the anatomy of most animals and how completely different they are, and like how like tube feeding a mammal is a lot different than tube feeding a bird or a reptile, stuff like that. But like the number one biggest thing I've learned is that a lot of people care more than I thought about wildlife and stuff like that.
That's great. It's good to learn.
Yeah. Yes.
So speaking about kind of the internship program as a whole, Robert, can you tell us a little bit about what some of past interns have gone on to do after the program?
We have quite the impressive alumni from our internship program. A good segment of our interns end up going on to veterinary medicine. They end up going to applying to and getting accepted to vet school. Other people have gone on to various conservation fields, whether it's a wildlife biologist or doing research. They'll go on and they'll get masters, PhDs in various scientific fields. We have quite the range of people. I mean, we've even had people that have come in and said, I thought this is what I wanted to do, and It isn't, which is perfectly acceptable. That's a life-changing event, and that's equally worthwhile. To say that, hey, this isn't the kind of field that I want to do. But our interns are scattered all over the country. They're all over the world, and they've gone on to do amazing and wonderful things.
That's great. So, thinking about you guys, what do you see yourself doing after this internship?
Well, my internship will be over in March, and that's also when I graduate. So I'm applying to different wildlife centers and zoos as a veterinary technician, that I'll be able to further those skills that I've learned, and I'll be certified coming this summer as a certified veterinary technician, and then I'm working after that on specializing in zoological medicine.
So, I guess just for viewers, can you tell us a little bit about what zoological medicine is?
So it's going to be basically on animals that aren't your cats and dogs, and it's going to be your exotics, like your reptiles, avian, large animals like lions, and just zoo-type critters.
Yeah. Very good. Tyler, what about you?
Well, I came into this this internship actually trying to figure out what I want to do. And this is definitely, because I graduated high school last June, this internship has definitely made me realize that this is 100% something I want to do. And so I'm starting to look at schools and stuff now to go in and pursue the job in the field.
Awesome. So, if you were to talk to some future interns, what advice would you give them about being an intern at the New England Wildlife Center?
It's hard work, but it's totally rewarding. You just have to put in the hours, put in the work, and you will appreciate it when you're done.
Very good. That's good advice. What about you, Tyler?
I'd say something similar to like that. I would say wait until the first release. That's when when you're first there, I'll be honest, it's a little stressful and overwhelming. But once you get to that first release, all of that goes away. You're like, this is awesome. This is definitely something worthwhile.
That's good. Robert, what about you? What advice would you give?
I would say that it's a steep learning curve when you first come in, but don't be overwhelmed. We've had over 1,000 interns. Just about everybody's survived. Okay, you're not going to die. Okay, we'll get you through it. Yes, we expect a high standard of care from our interns, but we're also there to make sure they learn as well. I mean, it's a two-way street. So we're there to help you. We're there to support you. I have some of the best vet techs in the country, I'll dare say, and they are willing to train people. Will walk you through. I know, as shocking as this might be, the average person does not know how to tube a mute swan. So guess what? We will sit there and we will show you step by step how to tube feed or medicate a mute swan if that's what needs to be done. So we'll be there to help you.
That's good. So I want to hear now, Tyler, I heard that you've done some work with turtles. And can you tell us about that experience?
Well, yeah, a few weeks ago, it was like a month ago, one of the local sea turtle rehabilitation centers came in and they had needed to use our x-ray machine. So we spent the day taking care of sea turtles, which was a very cool experience. I've volunteered as sea turtle rescue before, but in the seabird department. So I've never been able to actually work with sea turtles before that. It was definitely awesome, and it was something I might want to do in the future.
Very cool. So what does that experience look like? I mean, I've never done that. So can you explain it to me a little bit?
It was a lot of
we had about 20 Kemp's Ridley's sea turtles, which is it's probably the most highly endangered sea turtle species in the world. And those are the ones that strand and get what they call cold stun off of Cape Cod. And so the National Marine Life Center, who we coordinate and we work with down near Cape Cod, ended up bringing about was it 20?
It was 20.
About 20 of these sea turtles to
Big
us. And
crates
then
and
all the interns, Tyler can tell you like what they ended up doing when they actually
we ended
showed
up doing is we all got to help take X-rays, but then we also had to help handle move them and
Outside, it's
because they have to, because they're aquatic, they have to keep constantly moist, so we had to moisten them, which is basically giving a sea turtle massage.
It was pretty rewarding.
It was not something I expected when I came.
That
to
wasn't on
day.
the intern form, right?
Yeah, that's not on our list of
Yeah.
things that we like normally do.
Yeah, it's cool because like occasionally you get to do stuff like that you did not expect, especially coming into it. So I mean, like as I was saying earlier, like no day is similar to any other.
That's great. Casey, have you had any experiences like that that just was not something you were expecting?
I mean, I don't know. Like here's a good one. Trying to put in an intramedullary, I can't say it, an IM pin to repair a fracture on a little frog. I thought that was, I mean, we do orthopedic surgery on dogs and cats. That's all normal, but on a little cute frog, it was really cool to, monitor anesthesia and assist in the surgery and take x-rays to figure out placement, and it was really interesting. Not something that I thought I was going to be working with.
Very fun. Robert, do you have any stories like that with the interns? Any crazy things that have happened?
I mean, I've been here 3 years now, and it's pretty much like on a daily basis. Life is never dull. You never know what's coming in the door, and you never know like how the interns are gonna, what my day with the interns is gonna be like.
You kind of drive crazy.
Yeah, I would just echo that. Both of those situations. I mean, we've dealt with everything from dealing with rodenticide cases, which is a rat poison that unfortunately a lot of our birds of prey and other animals get exposed to, which is pretty lethal. We have a huge problem with lead toxicosis or lead poisoning in like our waterfowl, like the ducks, geese, and swans. I would say about 50 to 75% of our Canada geese that come in the door all have lead poisoning. We deal with all the turtles, all of our native turtle species in the spring that end up getting hit by cars. We deal with animals that are unfortunately shot. Okay, we deal with animals. We deal with tons, unfortunately, of cat attack cases for our native bird species, whether they're songbirds or doves or pigeons. And so cat attacks is like a huge problem for our native wildlife. So I would say my big picture message is that we end up dealing with a lot of wildlife injuries, illnesses, and orphan cases that are either directly or indirectly the result of mankind. And therefore, I think it's incumbent upon us to try to get something good out of that and to try to help, deal with those situations. And the way we can do that is through wildlife conservation, rehabilitation, medicine. And we use that as a tool to help teach our interns about all those wonderful things we've just been talking about over the last odd couple minutes.
So Robert, if someone is interested in applying or learning more about the internship program, where could they go to get that information?
Good question. All right, so most of our interns apply online. You can actually go to our website, just Google New England Wildlife Center. Our website will pop up, and then there's a whole page for our internship program. It'll describe the program. You can review previous intern stories. You can learn like what an average day is for an intern. So there's lots of information about the internship program on there. And then they can actually download our internship application. And then all you do is basically fill out the application, get 2 letters of recommendation from either college professors, high school teachers, or employment, okay, your bosses. And then you can either snail mail it to me, if you still do that. You can fax it to me, if you still know what a fax machine is. Or you can scan it and then email it to me.
Well, I think that's a good ending point. Thank you so much for coming in, you guys. This has been wonderful to learn about the internship program and your personal stories. So thank you so much, and thanks for watching, everyone.